welcome to today's episode of the Veterinary Blueprints podcast. I am your host, Bill Butler, and today I am joined by Joe Chickerillo, my good buddy from Chicago. Joe and his team are helping practices reduce no-shows, increase bookings, and deliver a smoother experience for both teams and clients. So if you're a solo vet or running a multi-location hospital, Joe is going to bring you some actionable insights into streamlining your front desk workflow and driving better client engagement. Welcome to the podcast, Joe. We have had the opportunity to hang out at some national events here in the last year or so, having a good time out in Las Vegas, out on the Strip, and getting to know you a little bit better and what you do for veterinary practices. And I thought, we connected and said, hey, let's have you on the podcast. So welcome. Why don't you now I know you have a background in dental for many years and a couple years over in animal health. So why don't you tell our listeners kind of how you wound up at ChckVet and what you do and what your passion is towards animals and how you wound up there?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me. Background is really, I've been in human dentistry for close to 15 years, and I've been at several different back-to-back startup companies. All have been successful. The one that was the most fun and was arguably the most successful was called Local Med, which was funny because it wasn't local, nor was it medical. It was dental, and it was online scheduling, and that's all it was, right? And back in 2016, when they took that to market, it was the only tool in the dental space that had the ability to read and write right into the practice management software. So, there was all these major benefits. It's like it brings in more revenue. It makes the front desk life easier so dramatically better, right? Saves tons of time, makes for a better client experience, and people are just looking for it, right? So we were wildly successful with that. And fast forward a few years, we took it from like 30 providers in like early 2016 to a little over 9,000 by the end of 2019. We got bought by a larger company that does practice analytics. They would do things like, as an example, if you were diagnosed with needing a crown, but you never came in to get it, hey, here's some low-hanging fruit, people you can reach out to get scheduled, missed revenue, help with forward booking and things like that. So we had like the tool to know what to do, like who we wanted to get scheduled. We had the scheduling tool, but they now needed the kind of methodology to get that scheduling tool into the hands of those people. So they bought a third company that does like the text and email. So fast forward a couple of years, and the guy who originally built that online booking tool, who had stayed in charge of the product during those two acquisitions, at some point got connected with these guys at ChckVet, and it's through all mutual connections from LSU, their alma mater.
Okay.
When they were already trying to build something kind of like that for the veterinary space. This other guy that had built it in the dental space basically was connected with them and was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Here's how you do this. Here's the pitfalls to avoid. And so now we got to streamline that same build, but putting all three tools under one roof instead of like daisy chaining them together.
Sure. Instead of three different components, you've put it all under one roof.
Instead of three different dashboards, three different logins, three different systems, it's all under one roof. So essentially when they were ready to take it to market, I got the phone call and it was kind of like, hey, you remember that thing that we were really successful with, that was really fun to do and that everybody loved us for? How would you like to do that with animal people? And I was like, absolutely, let's go,
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the vet med space, and I've been in for about 2 years, and I absolutely love veterinary.
Yeah, it's a fun group of people, and I think one of the things that I love about the animal space is my clients. Like I really like working with my clients. Mm-hmm. I was just on the phone earlier today with a legacy client, auto repair shop, something my dad we actually acquired as part of an agency acquisition. Not my favorite to deal with. So I think just veterinarians are great people across the board. The people who help them are great people across the board. So it makes it so much more fun. Like we had a great time in Las Vegas. We were down there for a week between Vet Partners and VVC. So like that makes it so much better. So the pain points, I mean, you talked about some of the things that you identified, low hanging fruit, not being able to capitalize on it, scheduling, that sort of thing. What, when you're talking with practices out there and what you're seeing, what are the biggest pain points when it comes to veterinary scheduling? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I get emails and texts about my cat, and they're like, "Oh, you need to come in for your vaccine." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." And then, so what are the pain points that your team's seeing as it relates to scheduling at vet practices?
Well, Well, there's a bunch, and it kind of falls into two buckets. So there's either people that have online booking or don't, right? If they have online booking, the pain points tend to be what we're using isn't customizable enough, or it's not as automated as we would like it. For instance, if you're using a software that can write the appointment into your practice management system, but if it can't create the new client record, somebody still on the front desk side has to take that information and create a record for it and attach it. So there's still manual process, right? But typically,
which is just kind of laborious, right? It's just, it's like,
yeah,
it's laborious. It's more, I don't know,
tedious.
hole digging work. It's busy work. It's not generally producing revenue. It's just checking a box to make sure you're doing half of the process.
Exactly. And by the way, that's much better than not having it. Like that's better than
sure.
0% of the process. But yeah, if it's not fully automated, then it's not saving you as much time. So typically somebody that has online booking is looking for it to be more automated, more customizable, more marketable. The other side of things is the majority of practices don't have any online booking, or what they do have is kind of more of an appointment request system. And there's just, oh my gosh, there's so many reasons that you at this point need to adopt online booking. I've got all these stats. I'll just list a few off because I've got them in a PDF that we pass out and I've got it in front of me. 81% of pet owners prefer to schedule their appointments online. 59% of millennials would switch practices for better online access. So if you've got online booking, it's a competitive advantage. 38% of all appointments are scheduled after hours or on weekends. It takes an average of 8.1 minutes to book somebody over the phone, which is kind of like your other sort of option, right? And then 63% of those calls are placed on hold at least one time. That's all my stats. I'm done with it.
Okay.
But essentially, what it's doing is it's saving a ton of time. Like there's all this back and forth. You send in an appointment request. You're essentially filling out a form on a website. It sends an email to the office. And now it's up to them to, number one, recognize that they've gotten an email, have the time to make that phone call. Are you available for that phone call in that moment? Probably not. Are they going to answer it because they don't have your number as a practice saved into their phone? Probably
Let me put you on hold, press 2 for scheduling, all of that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. So all that goes away. It also picks up, when you enable online booking, it increases your conversion from marketing perspective. I know obviously this is a lot about like the business side of things and the numbers. Like it increases your conversion for any online marketing channel by anywhere between 35 and 70%. And that's like relative to your website, to Facebook, Google, Instagram, any ads you're running, like anything you're doing to connect with your clients. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think about my barber, right? Like he uses Square. And so I go to schedule an appointment with my barber on Square. And it's like, who do you want to meet with? What day do you want to meet with them? I look at the thing, ask for my email and my phone number. Yeah, I'm available at that time. And I book the appointment. Instead of like calling John, hey, are you free? He doesn't call me back. And then I forget about scheduling a haircut. And then it's Saturday. And then he's booked out for the whole week. And then like a whole week goes by. Because I couldn't just go on my phone this morning
and just see what he has available.
Like, when are you available? Oh, you're available next Tuesday at 1. I can go down there at 1 o'clock. And so, the number one rule in sales at Butler Vet Insurance is make it easy for the clients. Like, you have to make it easy, because if you put barriers in place, especially in today's speed, access, everything, like if you make it difficult to do, people will not want to do it.
100%. That's exactly it. And by the way, not just for your clients, but also for the front office. Like you eliminate all that phone tag.
Yeah.
With that in mind, so to your point, like the question of like the availability and all that, the biggest hesitation that we get from vet practices that don't have online booking is the concept that like, oh no, there's no way. Our scheduling is too unique. Our practice is too special. It's too different. And the funny thing is, every single practice thinks that, right?
Sure.
The reality is, there's any number of rules you can put in, and we've not come across. All right, there's been 2 times ever in 8 years that we couldn't handle somebody's scheduling. One of them was this guy comes in and he's about to retire, so give him a break here. But he comes in every Sunday and decides that day what days of that week he's going to be open.
You can't preset the schedule. I mean, I set up how we schedule this podcast. I use Calendly.
Yeah, right.
Which is, it's a scheduling software tool that integrates with Outlook. And I say, hey, Joe, would you like to be on the podcast? You say yes. And I send you a link, and you click the link and you look at my schedule and say my schedule and Bill's schedule line up at this time. And then in the thing, it says, hey, tell us 3 things you want to chat about. And it's making the process of us getting connected for this podcast so much easier versus us calling on the phone and you looking at your schedule and me looking at my schedule and email back and forth and going through all this hassle when we just need to connect for half an hour on a podcast.
Exactly. So, and the nice thing about that system is it's looking at all of your existing appointments and everything you have in there, which shows me what's left, right?
Yep.
That's what ours does. You build in things like, okay, we're going to look at the schedule already. We're going to know where you want to book a certain type of appointment. Dogs are booked this way. Cats are booked this way. Maybe it's by species. Maybe it's by breed, right?
We do dental on Friday.
Exactly.
And all the dental appointments.
We do emergencies. We're fear-free. We do X, Y, and Z. Like Dr. A always gets an extra 15 minutes more than Dr. B because Dr. A is super chatty and always takes a long time. You know, like all that stuff gets built in, and then it just automates it for you. It's amazing.
Yeah, because I only record podcasts on Thursday or Friday because people are generally happier on Thursday and Friday. And it's a fun thing to do at the end of the week versus trying to like get in Monday morning and like, I got to do this podcast. Not that podcasts aren't fun, but like my logic for podcasts are they're only available Thursday and Friday after 2 p.m. like that, or after 1 p.m. or whatever. So from traditional appointment software, I mean, there's a bunch out there. What feedback have you received about differentiation between your software and others out there, and what sets you apart?
Well, so the online booking itself is unique. Nobody else does the online booking the way that we do it, where it's 100% automated and 100% customizable and integrated with all of the top practice management systems, right? So that's kind of the first differentiator. The other piece is that it's not just online booking that ChckVet does. It's online booking, practice analytics, two-way communications, so all your reminders, all your confirmations, all your two-way texting and marketing and all that, reviews management like Google and Facebook reviews, aggregation, responding, all that type of stuff. And then there's a client portal with an app, and there's even digital forms. So it's another differentiator between us and other systems out there is we're doing all that under one roof. So we have a lot of clients that have come to us. They're already using 2, 3, 4 different programs. And by the way, a lot of times they're happy with them, but they're paying $200 to $400 a month for 3 different systems. So you're looking at anywhere between $600 and $1,200, depending on what they're using, that we roll all under one roof for hundreds of dollars savings every single month. You know what I mean?
And so for some of your early adopters, what have they seen as, some of the, I mean, like in today's age, I think we just agree, whether it's ChckVet or somebody else, like you just should have some sort of automated appointment scheduling for your new clients or onboarding. Like you just got to have something, right? Like just trying to do it over the phone. I mean, if I get an email from someone, I send them back my appointment link. If somebody calls in and says, I'd like to schedule an appointment, I'm like, here, let me send you a link and you can schedule a time. And then like, I don't have to go hunting through we're not spending that 10 minutes on the phone to try and find that time. So what have your early adopters said about just like having a scheduling process or an automated scheduling process in place, and what's that done for their practice?
Honestly, there's been a lot of really good feedback. We've got some case studies. We've got some really great testimonials. I even was at like the VHMA Management Exchange and got like a video of, somebody was walking around. She's like, I just love your software so much. I'm like, can I get a video of you? And she just freestyled for like a minute, and it was great. So we've gotten a lot of cool stuff about the online booking in particular, saving money, bringing in more money, saving a bunch of time, making things more automated. One of the interesting things, this is a true story about our practice analytics too, right? So like the analytics, it's 2 different sides to it. There's a daily huddle that gives the CSRs and the whole front office team like all these great action items on how to do their job better day to day. Like here's how you help your forward booking. Here's the people that came in yesterday that don't have a forward booked appointment, right? Here's the people that are supposed to be coming in today that haven't confirmed yet, and here's how you can do all that right down the list first thing in the morning. So the other side is like the practice analytics, where it's like, okay, let's look at things like your revenue, your accounts receivable, your appointment numbers and how many were completed and versus new versus returning, and your fill rate and your show rate, and all that's by different doctors and providers, however you have it booked. But a couple cool things. One we got just on March 31st from a client. It's in our celebration channel in Slack. Says we launched ChckVet on Friday. This came in on a Monday. We launched ChckVet on Friday, and we're able to collect $3,000 of AR just from the daily huddle over the weekend. That was on a Monday from somebody who went live on Friday 2 days earlier, or 3 days earlier. So like that was a pretty cool one.
That is pretty cool. So I think in the very fast-paced world of vet med these days, full schedule, short staffing, trying to make sure that you're maximizing your appointment hours. How does client communication? Because obviously that's a big component of what you do. It's not just the scheduling, but also the client communication. How does that help reduce no-shows and improve, patient compliance, so to speak, with what you're trying to do?
It's a great question, and it's really closely tied in with the online booking. So Communications, we do everything from appointment confirmations, appointment reminders, medical and vaccine reminders, two-way texting, email, like custom, like marketing campaigns and all that stuff, right? And the cool thing is if you tie in the online booking into that, it automates even more than just having that on your website. So for instance, I get a text message, hey Joe, it's been about a year since we've seen Rocket. Click here to book his next wellness exam. Practice has had to do that because they have it on a cadence where like at the 11-month mark after somebody's last appointment, make sure that they get a text message that says X, Y, and Z and have the online
it's automated, fire and forget, it goes out.
Exactly. And when you allow them to book themselves in, like you said, instead of like doing that awkward over the phone thing, right? If you're allowing them to look at their schedule and yours side by side and make the best decision for themselves relative to what they have going on, they're statistically way more likely to show up. And even if they can't, it's because something came up like last minute. Let's say like, your kid got sick and you couldn't,
sure.
You had to go pick them up from school or something, right? So like they're more likely to change their appointment. And so you wind up with higher retention. You wind up with higher forward booking because you have all that on automation already. And then you've also got the additional functionality, which this is not everybody does this, but like in our marketing kind of tools, you've got the ability to build out what we call client segments and send out like custom text and email type stuff. So real life example, about 4 months ago, we had an office manager. They're at they got a better version of it. I don't know the name of it, but they got a better version of a cat medication than they had been prescribing for years. So what this doctor did was built out a segment for all clients who are active clients who have a cat that has been prescribed this like old medication in the past that we haven't seen in at least 6 months, and that the cat is still alive. That was the criteria. Sent out a text, an email, and a push notification through the app to everybody that had that criteria, with the link to book, saying, hey, we got this new version of this medication. I hope you come on in and talk to us. Their conversion was like ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I have this on my desk, and it reminds me, I got it from a business coach, and it's to mine your own acre of diamonds. Because, instead of out trying to get new clients, is trying to maximize the return on investment and the revenue per client, right? Like trying to get more dollars out of your existing clients versus trying to go acquire new ones, because acquiring new ones is always the harder get from a sales perspective. It's easier to do business with people you're already doing business with.
Yeah, it's 9 to 10 times harder to acquire a new client than it is to retain an existing.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This episode of the Veterinary Blueprint Podcast is sponsored by Butler Vet Insurance. Being an insurance agent at Butler Vet Insurance, I've seen firsthand the difficulties veterinarians face insuring their practices. But do you know that we wrote the book on veterinary insurance? It's called Protecting Your Veterinary Practice: Insider Insurance Secrets Every Veterinarian Must Know. It's not just a book, it's a comprehensive guide that speaks to the unique challenges and insurance solutions for the veterinary community. With over 20 years experience from cyber liability to business auto and workers' compensation, our aim at Butler Vet Insurance is to reduce the stress of insurance for those dedicated to animal care. If you're a veterinary practice owner or manager and looking for some guidance on your insurance, follow our insurance blueprint. Discover the Butler Vet Insurance difference, and together let's put the pieces of the puzzle together. Butler Vet Insurance, reducing the stress of insurance. Or even just upsell them that one extra medication or vaccine. Like, oh yeah, I should come in for that vaccine. I'm glad you got a new one.
Right.
So for busy practice managers out there listening today, what is one small change that they could make to improve scheduling efficiency just overall at a practice?
Well, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but like enabling online booking is by far, like of everything that we do, that is without question the most impactful and the biggest impact, the most immediate and the biggest impact that any practice will see is just turning on online booking. Aside from that, I would probably say including the ability to book an appointment in all of your medical and vaccine reminders. You'll just save so much time. It's ridiculous.
So having, again, like we've chatted about, right? Like the ease of scheduling and having some sort of automated scheduling system. I mean, it's made a huge impact in how we do things with our practices we work with from a scheduling perspective. I mean, it's got a referral today from a CPA, said, hey, she, meet with this client. And so, she reached out immediately after that, actually beat me to the email back And I said, hey, I'd love to meet with you. Here's my scheduling link. Like, and now, 90% of the time, I would say they're scheduling that appointment within a day or two of that initial email out saying, hey, here's Bill, here's his team, or, we're getting that introduction. So just the ease of getting that connection made and the scheduling for us and the practices we work with has made it so much easier. And then, we're just managing the schedule. All right, what do we have this week? We got three or four new appointments this week. And we're just, like you said, that huddle component where you're looking ahead and going, okay, this is what we got going on.
So I do this, I do presentations on stage a lot. One of the things, I usually will give one of two anecdotes. And like in Vegas, for instance, I'll do like, hey, show of hands, how many people flew here for this conference? Like basically every hand in the room goes up. All right, now keep your hand up if you called and talked to somebody on the phone to book that flight. Everybody's hand goes down. I mean, as soon as Americans started offering that in the 90s or whatever it was like everybody had to follow suit. Why would you ever call somebody? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So as the industry is changing over and, client engagement tools are more prevalent, online scheduling is more prevalent, you probably have to have some of this in place. Where do you see and where does ChckVet see the future of client engagement tools and online booking over the next, 12 to 24 months? Because things are changing very fast with AI and everything else. Where do you see things going?
So the interesting thing about AI, I'm a big fan of AI, first of all, and I think that right now we're in such a boon because there's so many large language models that are available for anybody to sort of create their own and utilize them to build on one another, and that's sort of what AI is, right? It's iterating on itself continually and improving all the time. So what I think is happening, what has been happening for about the last year, and I think will continue happening for the next, I'm going to say probably 2 years, is you're going to continue to see all these startup companies that are coming out building versions of AI for individual small pieces, and then give it another 2 years, and I think a lot of those will go away as they get consolidated or one becomes sort of the leader in that space and the other ones kind of fall off. And I think at that point in time, we'll have a much better idea of what's actually possible to automate. Right now, what we're doing, there are some AI components embedded in different pieces of the workflow.
Okay.
But I would not call us an AI platform at all. But there's opportunities for things to be able to do even more of that. And we've got not just AI, but a lot of other really cool developments on the roadmap for enterprise. Like right now, we've got the ability, as an example, something that the group practices tend to like when they're talking to us, is we can link our platform with, let's say you have a group of like 50 offices, and across those 50 offices, they're on 8 different practice management systems. We can actually tie into all of those practice management systems and pull all of that enterprise reporting data, all the financials, all the appointment numbers, the production numbers, the fill rate, and all that stuff I was talking about before into one dashboard and normalize that data across all of those PIMs, right? And that's a thing that when we talk to the bigger groups, the consolidators, even just like the independent, like, but group practices, that tends to be something that everybody's trying to tackle right now.
It's a pain point.
It's a huge pain point. So there's kind of a twofold benefit there. Number one, you can see all of those across all the different PIMs and normalize the data so you can get true benchmarking and know where you want to increase, for instance, ad spend, or work on the production numbers for a particular provider versus another at an office that's underperforming. The other benefit is that you almost, by virtue of having our platform integrated there, and I'm speaking selfishly about us, but by virtue of having our platform integrated, you might have somebody that's on, like, for instance, an Imprimed, that's kind of an older system, and then somebody else that's on like a Shepherd that's like a brand new system, and you don't necessarily need to convert the old one into the new one as quickly because you're bringing them the same functionality. So I think over the next 2 years, we are going to continue building out more of that enterprise functionality to kind of normalize that data and the functionality across all of them. And I think that you're going to see AI tools that are either doing that also on their own, or there's a couple of options we've been looking at to tie it in different ways for us to sort of intuitively figure out some of that stuff that even quicker than we're doing it now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. If I'm a practice out there that's not currently doing online booking at all, and it's very old school manual, client calls in, we schedule the appointment, we send out an email reminder, that's a non-automated process. You have the front desk CSRs or reception team doing that. Where do you see them in that 1 to 2 year time frame? Because this is all moving so fast. How much of a competitive disadvantage are they? Like, because you said 39%, I think the stat you listed was 39% of millennials, or 54% of millennials would change practices because of the ability.
Yeah.
59% would change practices with the benefit of being able to do online booking. I mean, where do you see those practices that are hanging on to that? No, our clients want to speak with someone every time they call in. We have to have that customer service relationship.
Yeah, the personal touch, so to speak. Yeah, that's
Yep.
what they all talk about. You know, here's the thing: phone calls are not going away. There's always going to, at least for the foreseeable future, there's always going to be phone calls, right? But I think that the practices that don't adopt new technology to automate that and kind of bring that, as Bruce Truman describes, the digital front door, right? Like, let's open ourselves up to what people are looking for. I think the ones that don't do that will continue to exist, but I think they're going to just like, there's this overall trend in the industry right now of appointments going down, like visits going down, spend going, even though the cost is going, the spend is going down, average of like 3%, I think the last 2 years. I think that's going to continue, and the practices that aren't adopting this are going to fall victim to, kind of either the corporate consolidation, or they're just going to be
who are like throwing money at this stuff like nobody's business, because they're trying to, because the consolidators and the aggregators and the corporates are all trying to build scale and efficiency, and they've got money to do it. And so they're like, okay, well, we have to scale this and build efficiency across our 50 practices and 8 different PIMs and how all of that comes into play. So we have to build these efficiencies in. And if you're not at least keeping pace with some of that, you're at a disadvantage.
100%. That's the way. And by the way, like the nice thing, one of the nice things I see in the vet space relative to my experience in dentistry tends to be a little bit, I would say, ahead of the curve trend-wise, like both with AI, corporate consolidation, different struggles and different advances that they make in technology, like 5 to 7 years ahead of veterinary. And one of the things that I was very concerned about, that I am still very concerned about in the dental space, is this corporate consolidation. In veterinary, I think that there's more of an awareness and more of a desire to push back against it and preserve the independent practice owner. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, I'm biased here, but I think it's such a no-brainer. Like, this is how you compete with the corporate consolidators, is having systems that are more advanced, more automated, more scalable. Like, if you're doing it, if you're working at 1.5 times the pace of a big group, well, then you have nothing to worry about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a great book called David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell. And it always says that in that book, he basically lays out why David can always beat Goliath. Is because, for Goliath, and, we deal with this in the independent world, but, for me, competing with larger insurance agencies or groups, I look at, well, I don't have as much money as them. How am I going to compete with them? I don't have as many staff. How am I going to compete with them? You can actually be more nimble because you don't have 8 different PIMs that you're trying to integrate all of that stuff together with. You've got one system. You go, okay, what system do we need to solve for in this equation? And so you can actually be a little bit more nimble, more streamlined. You're not trying to do this huge scale of integrating systems and processes across multi-states, multi-organizations, multi-technologies.
And to your point about being nimble, 2 things. Number one, yes, when we do talk to, like, we're not like, really skewed. We're definitely skewed towards having kind of the more independent offices. We got some larger groups, but those big corporate consolidators, they just take so long to do anything, to make any decisions, to really get anything implemented. They'll reach out sometimes and we'll have conversations that go on for a year and a half, and it's just about getting a pilot for a couple of offices on. So I think that nimbleness is really what gives every independent office the advantage. Yeah. And similarly, it's a big part of, I think, why we're successful. We're not owned by some large corporate company. Mm-hmm. And our entire, so about a year and a half ago, about 2 years ago coming up on, that I joined the company, all we did was online booking and daily huddle. We did not have the practice analytics. We didn't have the enterprise stuff. We didn't have the marketing, the communications, the reviews, the portal, the app, the forums, all that type of stuff. And every single thing that we have continued to build is because people that we're working with are asking for this extra thing. So we're able to continue to iterate and build all these new features and everything. It's like these other companies that have already been bought out by these large corporations, when's the last time you saw them come out with anything new? We have, if you, not like, telling you to go follow our social media, but if you look, like, man, we put out stuff every month. It's like, here's the 5 things we rolled out this month. You know what I mean?
Well, in the insurance space, there's a large technology company. I'm not going to name them, but there's a large technology company, and what they've done is either in some cases, what they do is they buy a piece of technology or a company to kill it. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, we're going to buy this company. We promise to do these things. And then after 5 years, they wind up sunsetting everything out of there. 4 years, they sunset everything out of there. And what they did was they bought the competition to kill it off, and not growing it, but to say, we do that over here with this system, and we were going to integrate them, but actually everyone on this system that we bought, we're going to kill off. And now if you want the if you want, it's comparable. It's 60% more through us on this other side. And so, some of that a corporate consolidation or large tech consolidation, sometimes the smaller tech guys, they get bought out, and then you wind up out in the cold. Well, Joe, if there's one thing that I think you kind of covered it, but if there's one thing that you would recommend to a practice owner or manager out there looking at, trying to figure out how to do online booking or some efficiencies, what would your piece of advice to them be?
Probably just to give it a try, be open to change, ask a lot of questions, like, get all your concerns covered. But like the person I was just talking about that we ran into at VHMA that did that video, right? I hope she listens to this. She was one of the hardest sells. Like we went back and forth on these long demos. She had 8 billion questions, and I'm telling you, like, just give it a try, right? We wound up seeing her, and she goes, as soon as we turned it on, she goes, within like 3 days, we were like, okay, this is great. Yeah. But what they did, even if you're hesitant about trying something like this is what I'm getting to. Even if you're hesitant about trying either online booking or whatever the new technology is, see if you can try it out and do it in like a sandbox sort of a environment with your own team. So this person told me, and I've been telling every demo that's been like, hesitant since then. This person at this event told me, she goes, we rolled it out only to our team. We didn't put it on our website. We didn't send it to any of our clients, but we rolled it out to our team, and we all sat around at a table at lunchtime one day and she described it as tried to break the system.
Sure.
We tried to sneak in appointments where we wouldn't want them to go, and they found some kind of loopholes in the way that they do things, and so we built in rules around those.
Put some rules in, sure.
Yeah, so like the whole team was bought in on it. They were comfortable with it. They already tried everything, and she's our biggest advocate. So my advice would be open to change and just give things a try.
Cool. Well, if anyone listening here wants to reach out to you or ChckVet, how do they find you, Joe?
Go to ChckVet.com, ChckVet. So it's like check without the E, but ChckVet.com. You can book an 8-minute demo on there. Our demo is super quick and easy. It takes 8 minutes start to finish. Our contact info, all like FAQs, us versus everything else, sure, and all the features and everything. It's all listed on there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your insights, Joe. As always, listen, and share to the podcast with your friends and veterinary compatriots out there. And thanks for joining us, Joe.
Appreciate you having me, man. It's always a good time.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Veterinary Blueprints Podcast.